these are very young children who spontaneously start talking about past lives. This does not involve hypnotic regression. These are young kids who just come out with this material. And they're not talking about being kings or queens, almost never talking about being famous people, but rather they're talking about someone who had an ordinary life, who died fairly recently, usually someone in the same country. And when I say recent, the average interval between the death of the previous person and the birth of the child is only 4.5 years. The median interval, meaning half or shorter, half or longer, is only 16 months. So in general, now there are exceptions, and I'm going to tell you one that's 50 years, but in general, it tends to be quite recent lives. Some of them describe being deceased family members, like a grandparent, and I'm going to tell you about one of those. But others describe being strangers in other locations. And if they give enough details, like the name of the location, then people have often gone there and found that, in fact, somebody did live and die whose life matches the statements that the child has made. In that case, we say it's a solved case. If the child talks about a past life, but no one's able to verify that it matches with one specific person, we call it an unsolved case. We have plenty of both kinds in our collection. The solved ones, of course, tend to be the more interesting ones. The one part of the life that is often out of the ordinary is how the previous person died. 70% of the time, the previous person died by unnatural means, meaning accident, murder, suicide, combat. So that certainly seems to be an important factor in our cases, and I'll get back to that in a little bit. To give you an example of one of Ian's cases, this is a little girl from India named Kumkum Verma. This is him and a couple of associates with her on a follow-up trip. She was actually a little girl when he met her. And she was from a village, but she began saying that she had lived in the city of Darbhanga, which was a city of a couple 100,000 people that was 25 miles away. And not just that she lived in Darbhanga, but she named the district of the city where she lived, and it was a district of artisans and craftsmen. Her family certainly didn't know anyone from there, but she told a lot of details about the life of a woman who had lived there. Her aunt wrote down some of her statements, and Ian was able to get a copy of her notes of 18 statements, and he got them translated, and they document that she gave the name of her son in that life and the fact that he worked with a hammer, her grandson's name, the name of the town where her father lived, and some personal details like the fact that she had an iron safe at her home, that she had a sword hanging near the cot where she slept, and even that she had a pet snake that she fed milk to. So eventually, her father talked to a friend who had an employee from Darbhanga, and he was able to locate a woman who had died a few years before, whose life matched all the details that I just gave you. And they were certainly complete strangers to Kumkum's family, and they even remained strangers after the case was solved. Her father went once to meet the previous family, but he never allowed her to go meet them, and he apparently was not proud of the fact that he was a well-to-do landowner. He was apparently not proud of the fact that his daughter was remembering the life of a blacksmith's wife, and there's certainly no reason to think that the family did this as some sort of fraud.